Hey guys, I want to talk with you a little bit today about when a girl tells you she wants to stop dating you because she's not over her ex. I want to give you a little translation of what I've come to learn to know that this means, and I just want to talk about this concept a little bit with you. And first of all, I'm obviously speaking as a man from a male's perspective, and I'm mostly talking to guys out there today that are out there dating, but I think the same thing could go for women if guys were to say a similar thing to a girl. I think at the end of the day, it still means the same thing. And I think the actions and the response that you take should more or less be the same. But a lot of times you'll get into a situation where you're dating somebody and things are going good or whatever. And then at some point in time, they're not interested in dating you anymore, which is fine. But they'll kind of leave you hanging a little bit, or they'll leave you with a little shred of hope, and they'll say something like, yeah, like you're a great person, you're all this and that, and I really, really, really like you, but I'm just not over my ex right now, and I just need some time. And kind of like leaving this door open that, like, in your mind, you're like, well, maybe this person will circle back around, and maybe they'll get over their stuff and they'll come back and give me another try or something when they've dealt with whatever they're dealing with. But there's a couple problems as I see with this, or I've just learned because I've made the mistake and I've allowed myself to be kind of strung along, and it's not fun. And I think this is like one of the hardest things to learn to do, is to leave these situations alone and just walk away completely and like get it out of your mind that it's even a possibility and treat it in a different manner. Because I think the way that you need to think about this statement specifically when somebody tells you this, it's one of a couple things. Like, number one, like maybe they sincerely are not over their ex and they want to get back with this person, or the person's still in the mix or something like that. Number two, a lot of times they're just trying to be nice and like cushion your feelings and not make you feel bad. And it's almost like a way out or an excuse. Or number three, like they, or I guess this kind of falls in hand with what I just said, but it's like they are not feeling you and it's not working out for them, and they sincerely want to go out and date somebody else, right? It's one of those things. And in either case, the direct translation, the way that you need to think about this when somebody tells you something like this is they're basically saying to you, I do not want to date you anymore and I want to go out and date other people, right? Now, whether that's they still want to date their ex because they're not over them, they want to go out and truly date another person, which is obviously like not to your benefit. Whatever the case, I mean, that's the translation of what they're telling you. And even if they say like, oh, I don't want to date anybody at this time, so I'm just not over my ex. It's like think about that in and of itself. They want to date somebody. It's just not you. And once again, it could be the ex person, it could be another person altogether, it could be whatever, but it's not you. They don't want to date you anymore. And that's the thing I think where all of us get caught up, is because like when somebody says something like that to you and leaves the door open, like in your mind, you kind of continue to get strung along. You might continue to like invest your mental and emotional energy just into thinking about them or hoping they come back. And if they ever do circle back around, it's almost like you're like so thankful and you're like dying to have them back in your life. And you're like, oh, thank you for, getting over what you said you were trying to get over, and like coming back and giving me, another go here. But there's just so many problems with that. You can't allow people to do that to you. I don't believe that any of us should be allowed to be treated like a revolving door. You're not. You need to hold yourself as a person of high value, because that's what you are. Whether or not you believe it or not, I mean, you are a human being and you do have an immense value. And you need to realize that. You need to keep that in the back of your mind when you go through these things in life, because it's going to basically cause you to waste your time. If you're still hung up after a situation when somebody tells you something like this, it's wasting your time, where you could be out there meeting somebody else or just moving on or doing whatever. And it's kind of, I think it's a little bit of a selfish play on their part, because once again, they don't want to hurt your feelings, or they want to keep you as an option, which is even worse, I think. And neither of those two things is fair to you. So I think that if you can really accept what I'm telling you and really think of this like translated message when somebody tells you, I'm not over my ex and I don't want to date you anymore, as I said, like keep that translation in your mind. It's basically them translated saying, I don't want to date you anymore. And that should make you feel a certain way. And if they don't want to date you, then why would you want to continue dating them? And you need to learn to move on and basically walk away and never look back from those situations. And that's what I definitely recommend you do. I wrote an article some time back about allowing people to come back in your life, but I've learned that there's a lot of problems with that. It never works out. It's never the same as it was in the beginning before this little break in time, or this mini union or something you might have had going with somebody when you first started dating them, or even a year or two in or something like that. Whatever the time time is, a break is a break kind of thing in my mind, or a disassociation, let's say. It doesn't even have to be like a proper breakup. Like, even if you were never technically an item, a disassociation is just as bad in my mind. It's a rejection in the highest of orders if you really stop and think about it. So this is a hard thing to learn in life. It is hard to walk away when you really like somebody and they tell you something like this. Like, you want to believe, you want to keep hope, you want to do all these things, but I'm just telling you, it's a waste of your time, and you need to get good at leaving those situations and walking away. And when they do come back, you need to have the strength to basically just treat it for what it is. I would caution you to put much stock in anybody that comes back around in such a fashion in your life. I mean, you might be able to keep them around as just like a fun person to hang out with, or do whatever you want with. Leave that up to your own interpretation. Have some fun, but at the end of the day, like, I would not trust that person ever again to try to be in a relationship with them. And like all the stuff I talk about here, like I'm nobody to rob you of your God-given right to try and experiment things and do things that you're going to need to do to learn on your own and learn the hard way in life, kind of thing. But I'm just communicating what I've learned and the experiences that I've had in all these years of dating. And yeah, like all this stuff, you wish you kind of realized it and learned it a little bit sooner in your life, but that's just the process. And that's just why I'm able to talk about some of these things in such a regard. So just try to keep that in the back of your mind, guys. If she tells you I'm not over my ex, like, I recommend the best thing for you is to walk away, never look back, and keep on moving and find the next one out there that's going to pay you the regard that you deserve as a person. Like I said, that valuable human being that you are, you're nothing less than that. And you need to remember that at all moments of your life as you move along. So hope this makes sense to you. Hope you guys are having a wonderful day. We'll talk again real soon.